quite a speed here.
All right.
Tape speed.
Okay, and you're still speeding? Excellent.
We're
good. Ready when you are.
Okay. I want to go back for just a few minutes because we've sort of almost come to the intersection of your career.
Yeah.
But we've got Don now. It's about 1960. He's playing with Willie Mitchell. He's finished Danny's Club. And you stayed with Willie throughout the 60s. Is that right?
Yes. Yes, I did.
And but the vocal group didn't.
Well, we were working, we started working a club in Memphis called Manhattan Club.
Mm-hmm.
And we were doing that club like 5 nights a week from 10 to 4.
What years were that?
That was, when we come out about,
Right
we
after
were
high
still-
school, or
Yeah, it was right after high school. Because I was still doing Danny's Club in high school.
okay, so 1960 maybe,
61.
61,
Mhm.
and
In that
that gig lasted forever.
Yes, we played that. We played at that club for a long time. Long time.
Did you go on the road some too with him?
Right. He Willie would take some out of town shows, and when he had to leave town, he would always get another band to sit in at the club for him. I know on occasions he used Bowleg's band and other different bands around the city that was not working on a regular thing. He would use them at the club there whenever we left town.
So, at what point did the vocal group disappear and you become the singer?
Broke up.
Yeah, it was. See, we worked the Manhattan Club for a pretty good while. I don't really remember the year.
Oh, but
But it was
the
during-
vocal group was at the Manhattan Club.
Yes,
The whole group
it was
at
during the
Club.
Manhattan Club days that the group broke up. While we were working the Manhattan Club, I don't know. They got into an argument about something, and I don't even remember what it was. But they argued about something, and next thing you know, this one didn't want to work with that one, and what have you. And on occasions like that, when something like that would happen and one left the group, I would always be able to go out and find another voice to come in and take its place. But at that point, I think at least two of them was about to leave the group. So I went to Willie and told Willie that I wanted to try to do just a vocal on my own, and what he thought about it. And he said, if you want to do that, let's try it and see how it worked out.
Now, Willie was an established recording artist, recording instrumentally.
Mm-hmm. Yes, he was.
But when he would play gigs like the Manhattan Club, what songs would he cover that would be vocals? And can you tell me some of your repertoire?
He would do. This is how the show run. He'd come in we'd come and start at 10 o'clock. Willie would come on and do basically instrumental songs for about 45 minutes. Then we'd take a 15-minute break. Then the group would come on the second 45 minutes, and he'll maybe do a couple of songs, and then he'll bring the group out, and we would do just the vocal things then for up to 45 minutes. Then we'll take another break, and then it just went back and forth like that.
Were
all
you
night.
doing any of the because the music changed, the music that you were really, when you talk about 57 to 60 in your high school days, you're talking about Platters and Moonglows and Flamingos and vocal groups. But by 1960 and up to 65, those groups were not necessarily in vogue on the radio or record sales. There were other things going on.
Right.
Did your style change at that time?
Yes, it did. We had to do the songs that was most popular on the radio or what have you, because this was the thing that people wanted to dance to. So basically, we would pick the songs that would really be played on the radio and learn those songs.
Were you doing the stack stuff?
No, we wasn't doing the stack stuff. We were doing who would it be? We did like James Brown or Wilson Pickett, well, I guess Pickett was with stacks or what have you.
Yeah.
Just the more popular things. Oh yeah, we do some Sam and Dave when I think about it,
Soul Man, Hold On, I'm Coming. those
Yeah,
kinds of-
things like that. We would have like on the weekends we'd have something like a 45 minute to an hour flow show where we would clear the dance floor and turn on the lights in the house, and we'd get out on the floor and do a little a skit or what have you with a song like the old baseball skit, and like little routines we had for Saturday, especially for Friday and Saturday nights or what have you.
Who were some of the musicians at the Manhattan Club? Can you tell me who was playing in that band during that period of time?
Basically, it was some of those same people I named. Some of them would move out and others would move in. I know Al Jackson played with us for a while. Jewel, another drummer called Jewel Eccles, he played with us for a while. Basically, the keyboard player and the horn player, like I think it was Willie and J.P. Looper was basically the horn players then, and then James I think he was in California. He moved back to Memphis, and when he moved back to Memphis, he started playing with Willie's group. Joe Hall was still on the piano, and on occasions, like when he had to go to town, they'd bring other musicians in too, because everybody was just about playing, the same type of songs then.
The Hodges brothers were not in the scene at all?
Not then. They came in later.
Okay. But go ahead.
Time-wise, kind of fuzzy to me now, but they did play with Willie. I think they played with Willie at the Manhattan, the last days of the Manhattan or whatever.
That would have been much later.
Yeah.
Now, Willie is recording, and he's got this instrumental. Did he go out to promote his records out of town?
Yeah, he did several shows out of town. Basically, they were like festivals. He would come in. It was like a watermelon festival, a water festival, different things like that. And they were never way out, Arkansas, Mississippi, or what have you. On occasions we would go like to St. Louis or things like that. But
Now both Danny's and Manhattan were primarily, well, they're not primarily, they were white clubs.
right, yeah, they were.
Did you, tell me how that felt. Because I understand the Manhattan Club, if you took a break, you had to go out.
Right.
You couldn't stay to socialize or anything.
Yeah, well, that's just the way it was. It was accepted then. Willie, he took the gig, and we were part of the band, and I was just accepted. When you took a break, you either go out. They had downstairs, like I guess it was the kitchen area, and there was a large kitchen downstairs, and we would either go downstairs to the kitchen or outside, stand outside and just talk.
Okay. When
Because it was only just 15-minute break,
yeah, you didn't have a great deal
on
of
every
time.
hour. Yeah.
Yeah. There were a lot of great bands during that period of time, and I'm wondering if you have any recollections of any of them. Ben Branch is certainly
Right.
one of the
Ben
great
Branch.
legendary bands. Can you talk about, did you go see that band? Or?
Ben Branch and the Largos. That was the group that played with it. So during that time, most of the bands was known with a group. Willie Mitchell and the Four Kings, Bowlegs Miller, and the Del Rios, William Bell. He was leading the Del Rios. Ben Branch and the Largos. And then there were some other groups that were not working on a regular basis at a club, but yeah, we used to go out and catch the shows, especially when they brought in name artists, Five Royals, Hank Ballard and the Midnighters. Those were two of my favorite groups or what have you that I really enjoyed.
Did you catch Ben Branch at the Penthouse, or where did you go see him?
No, this was at Curry's Manhattan Club.
Curry's. Because Penthouse was a white club too, wasn't it?
I think it was, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, see, the only problem about that was we were all working just about on the same nights, So anytime we had a break, and was able to catch the show, That just, like when the groups, they did bring special acts in, they would play longer that night. On a lot of occasions, some of the other clubs would close up, and musicians and singers would stop by because we'd be working till 4 o'clock in the morning. And a lot of musicians and singers and whatever, they'd stop by the Manhattan Club and come in and sit in with us.
It was a very famous gig.
Yeah, it was. It was.
Ben Branch's band is at least, now this is what has been told to me, was the first to integrate in terms of a regular gig with Duck Dunn and Charlie Freeman. Is that your recollection or no?
As far as I know, yeah. As far as I know.
Okay.
I don't know a whole lot about it, but I do remember that.
Okay. But at any of the other situations, I mean, part of the story of this time of Memphis and the great music is, of course, the integration of music.
Yeah.
And so I'm trying to direct the questions a little bit about, it's my understanding that white musicians could drop in and jam regardless.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Of not being on the gig.
Right.
Do you remember any of them who might have dropped into Manhattan to jam?
Not right. If I can't, Charlie Rich or whatever. A lot of times, some of the people like Charlie Rich, Gene Simmons, was it Haunted House, or people like this would come by, not necessarily to gig. They would come by and might, if we doing a song on stage, they might come up and sing along with us for a minute, and and then get off the stage. But other than that, I can't really recall a lot of them sitting in with the band.
Now, Willie started at High during the period of time that he was, Al was recording at Stax almost from the beginning of the Manhattan Club. When did Willie begin his recording at High?
Well, I think Willie was involved with High, but as in a producer position, because he was doing, like I said, Gene Simmons. He did some things with Ace Cannon and Bill Black and the different ones. Charlie Rich. He was more in a producer situation then, an engineer or what have you.
Joe Hall played over there.
Yes, he did.
Al Jackson was the drummer over there quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of the musicians out of your band were going over during the day to record at High.
That's right. That's right. So some of the groups like Bill Black, Ace Cannon, they would have their own musicians that would come in to play the tracks or what have you. And I think it was during that time Willie started bringing his musician in and cutting some stuff on himself.
Reggie Young and Bobby Emmons told me that they worked with, Joe Hall and with Willie. And
yes,
Andrews told me that he came in very early and that it was really a racially mixed environment at the studio very early on.
It was. And it was all about music. It was just seemed like everybody loved the music, and the studio was the place that we could converge, and no problems, nobody getting upset with anybody. It was just a beautiful scene, and it developed into like a family type situation around the studio there, and everybody seemed to just enjoy coming in and playing their music.
You were signed as a singer to High, is that right?
Yes, I was.
What year did that occur?
Ooh. I don't even remember the year. It was just, I was singing with Willie's band as a soloist then. And Willie just decided, he says, Don, it's time for us to do something on you, and because he had done several instruments, and I was traveling around with his band, and a lot of people on some gigs like out of town or whatever, they would think I was Willie Mitchell because I would be up front doing a lot of singing and what have you. Even to a point where they came and gave me the envelope, please.
But you were signed beforehand.
Oh, yes.
Right? You were an artist there well before that period.
Yes. We did, I did maybe 3 albums, a couple of single things. As a matter of fact, my group was recording at High, the Four Kings. We did maybe one, it wasn't an album, we did maybe 2 or 3 single release with the Four Kings at High before the group busted up.
Sorry, Rick. There was a shift in terms of the musical orientation. The early stuff was instrumental, Bill Black Combo, Ace Cannon, Tough, all of those sort of tracks like that.
Yes.
And then there came a period of time when it seems like Willie sort of emerged and rhythm and blues became the thing. The early acts would be you and O.V. Wright. Can you tell me some of the other acts and what it felt like to go into that situation? I mean, there was really a shift.
It was, and it really felt good. Felt good to be go in the studio to do the recordings and have a record release. And it made you pretty popular around town. At one time, I had the #1 hit song in Memphis, which was "Don't Turn Your Back on Me," and that made me feel pretty good. And it made me feel like I was really achieving some of the things I was really out there for.
Think back to what year you first started recording. Can you not think of what that year was? Was it because that would have been the early years that they shifted musics, right?
It had to be early. I'm thinking early, or middle '60s. I'm not sure.
65.
Yeah,
is what I'm thinking.
60. No, it was earlier than that. It was earlier than that because. Yeah. Oh no. You're right. About 65. Along that time.
I don't want to lead the question. I don't want to lead you.
No, it was around that time. When you said 65, first thing came to mind was 70. 5 when doing that that time when Ann came on the scene.
So now we're at the point where you've done the Manhattan Club, and that gig continued well into a period of time when Ann was here. Is that right? Or
yes, it did. When Ann first got, when she first came to High and started recording,
right.
I think we were still working the Manhattan Club then, right. I believe, because during that time, I kind of felt like the star of the studio then, because I was with Willie Mitchell, and he was a star engineer and producer then, so I kind of felt,
you were the
like
star of the studio.
Then I was, during the time when Ann came in, and she started wailing out them songs, man, and I said, whoa. And like you said, when you talk about the shift, all of a sudden, it shifted to Ann Peebles, when she got their first hits, it shifted to Ann Peebles. And I was still traveling with Willie, and doing some things, but he was constantly moving out of the traveling thing and being more in the studio more so than being out on the road promoting his material or what have you.
So, and your recording began in '69. Is that when the record came out, or when you started recording?
That's when I started recording, '69.
Okay.
So whatever change was made had already been made when I got there. But I'm thinking that since Joe Coogee was, I think, had most of the stock, and I believe Willie might have bought into the stock, and that helped him to go in and create. And I think that's when the change came, when he started creating his own sound.
That was before you really got there.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to name a couple of acts. Tell me if they preceded you or followed you. Syl Johnson?
They followed me. Syl, Otis Clay. Al Green.
Yeah, they were all after you.
Yeah.
Okay, so you were sort of you were perhaps the first hit in that style for the label, because Steal Away sold some records, didn't it?
And first female.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, that's true.
Okay, and you started your recording career like 2 days after you auditioned.
Yeah,
Is that what you said?
I did.
Did that? You're down for a visit. You get up and you sing a song. Come to the studio and start recording.
Well, yeah. Actually, Bowlegs took me to the studio. He was the one that really, I'll say, discovered me. Took me to the studio, and we met with Willie Mitchell. So Bowlegs actually started working with me first, and the reason why I just didn't record right then was I was underage. I went back home, had the contract signed by my dad, and he knew Oliver Sane, a great musician in St. Louis, and Oliver Sane wrote the first song for me that I recorded, which was Walk Away. Still Away was on the album.
Mm-hmm.
So Walk Away was really the first single.
Okay. And how did your parents take this?
Well, my dad knew that I wanted to be a singer. He knew that he told me, he said, well, I knew that you would I always knew you would be the one to step out, because the other kids did it because it was a must. I did it because it was a love, and he knew that, and he wished me well, and he was happy for me.
Did you experience any moving to Memphis from St. Louis? What was your experience, both in terms of, comment, if you will, on any sort of both racial feelings and as a woman, gender feelings?
Well, I didn't move to Memphis right away. It was maybe 71 or 70 when I really just started back and forth, but actually moved here, I think, 71. But I never thought much about racial situations because I didn't grow up in that. And it just never, I never had to go through a back door or, like Don say, sit on the back of the bus. I never thought of that because all my life, ever since I could remember, I was riding on the bus, but with gospel singers going to different places. And I guess I was blessed by not having to even deal with that.
What about as a woman in a traditionally man's field, I guess? Any problems there?
No problems at all, because I was one of the guys, just a tomboy. and actually, they all just took me in, and I was like their baby sister. They looked over, they watched over me. And Willie was like a father. He watched over me. All the musicians, I never really had a problem because they protected me from a lot of things.
Now, you come to Memphis, and this period of time in Memphis, the late 60s, early 70s, this is a happening place.
Yes.
What were your impressions about all that?
High was beginning to happen. Stax was already happening, and it was such of a thing that I think we wrote a song. It was called "The Bright Lights in the Big Cities," and to me, that's what Memphis was at that time because I came from St. Louis, but I lived in a small little area that was called Kinloch, Missouri, all owned by families. Every business was owned by families. So to me, Memphis was the big city with the bright lights. And that was the thrill of my life. Just looking around me saying, am I really here? And Stax, I could, I heard about Stax for a long, long time. And I wondered, well, why didn't I go to Stax? And I thought, well, I'm best here because I'm the first female singer here. And I got all of these guys around me that's protecting me, and maybe I would not have had that at Stax. So I felt blessed to be where I was.
I think you're in the right place.
Yeah, at the right time.
At the right time. Now, let's talk for just a minute about the dynamics of the company, because in 1970, Joe Coogee died.
Mm-hmm.
What effect did that have on both the company and your career, if any?
Well, by that time, Willie had bought stock into the company, and Joe was really getting ready to retire. Nick Pager, John Navarrese, and all those guys was there. So it didn't really have effect on the career, but it had effect on Willie because he knew him so long, and all of us because he was a great guy. But as far as the career, it didn't have an effect because they picked that up and kept going with it.
So you were on your career track at that point
Yeah.
anyway? Okay. When did you meet him?
I met him when I I think when I first came to Memphis, we were introduced. But actually, when I started recording is when I really became, well, I wouldn't say friends, because he was a writer, and Willie wanted him to write some things for me, so we had to sit down together. And I think that's how we really, really started talking about our lives and our families. And I learned that he came from a big family, I came from a big family. My family was just singing career people, and his family was too. And I think that's how we really just hit it off and knew that we had a lot in common. But for some reason, we didn't really like each other at first. I don't think Don liked me because I was the first female there, and I was getting all the attention. And I think he kind of let me knew that in a way he didn't like me. But I kept working with him and kept working with him. And finally, we became good friends, and from there, we started dating.
Mm. Now, High has also one of the most underrated, greatest songwriters,
That's
Earl
true.
Randall.
Yes, he was one of the greatest.
and,
he's still
still
a
writing.
great writer.
Yes, he is. Can you talk about when you met Earl and how he, because many of your great songs are Earl Randall songs too.
I think I met Earl after my first album. It might have been 72 when I actually met Earl. That's when he really started being around the studio and writing. I think I met Earl through Don because they were both writers there. And we became good friends and just remained good friends.
On your first record, was the rhythm section and the musicians, was it Bowlegs or was it who was on that record?
The Hodges brothers, because that was, I don't think Howard Grimes was with them at the time. But I know Leroy, Teeny, and Charles was there, like they were just really learning, but they were playing.
Now, is that about the time?
You changed it.
Okay.